The Beaumont Regional Theater smelled the same way it always had: sawdust, old velvet, and something faintly electrical that no one had ever been able to trace. Violet Marsh had loved that smell since she was 12 years old, standing in the back of a community production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, watching a woman in a white dress speak to no one and make an entire room feel it. She had wanted, from that moment, to be the woman in the white dress. At 29, she was the understudy. She told herself it was fine. She told herself, and Griffin told her, often, with great warmth and complete sincerity, that the Beaumont was a stepping stone, that her time was coming, that he had cast her as understudy to protect her from the critics who ate newcomers alive. She wore his engagement ring and believed most of it. She rehearsed her lines in the empty dressing room every morning before the leads arrived, just in case. Just in case had been her life for 3 years. Rafael Diaz had arrived at the Beaumont 6 weeks ago with a single duffel bag, a black leather notebook, and a reputation that preceded him in 2 directions simultaneously. He was brilliant, and he had publicly walked off the stage of a major New York production 2 years ago in the middle of a preview performance. Nobody fully agreed on why. The story changed depending on who was telling it. Raphael didn't tell it at all. He was cast as understudy to the male lead in Ardent, the Beaumont's marquee production for the season. A sweeping, achingly romantic play about 2 people who keep finding each other across the wrong circumstances. It was the kind of play that required you to mean it, or the audience knew immediately. Raphael meant it. Violet could tell from the first day they rehearsed together. The understudies rehearsed separately from the leads, in a smaller studio off the main hall on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, with a stage manager who ran lines efficiently and left them alone between notes. There was no audience. There was no pressure. There was, in theory, nothing at stake. "You're holding back," Raphael said after the 3rd Thursday. Violet looked up from her script. "Excuse me?" In the balcony scene. He wasn't accusatory. He said it the way you'd tell someone their shoelace was untied. "You're playing the idea of wanting him. You're not playing wanting him." She felt heat rise in her jaw. "I'm playing the scene as written." "I know," he said. "That's what I mean." She wanted to tell him that she had been acting since she was 12 years old, that she had trained at a conservatory, that she had workshopped this exact role for 2 months before he'd ever set foot in this city. She said none of it. She picked up her script and said, "From the top." They ran it again. This time she looked at him, really looked at him, and something in the scene opened that hadn't been opened before. She felt it. He felt it. Neither of them mentioned it. That was week 2. By week 4, Violet had stopped holding back, and the Tuesday-Thursday studio had become the most alive 2 hours of her week. Raphael brought coffee, always the right kind, which she hadn't told him, and she brought the playlist, and the stage manager had started leaving them early because, as she said on her way out one Thursday, "You 2 clearly don't need me." They talked between scenes. Actual conversation. Not theater small talk. Not the careful professional pleasantries that filled every other room in the Beaumont. He told her about New York, eventually. Not the full story, but enough. A director who wanted him to play a character he didn't believe in, again and again, until one night he looked out at the preview audience and understood that performing a lie for long enough makes you forget where the lie ends. "So you walked off," Violet said. "I walked off," he said. "Do you regret it?" He was quiet for a moment, in the way she'd come to recognize. Thinking quiet, not uncomfortable quiet. "I regret the way it landed on the rest of the cast," he said. "Not the decision." She looked at her hands, at the ring on her left hand. "I think about that sometimes," she said. what it would feel like to decide something just because it was true. Raphael looked at her for a moment, steady and unhurried. He didn't push. He just said, "Yeah, it's terrifying." And then it isn't. She didn't know what to do with that, so she picked up her script and said, "From the balcony scene." There were other days. Griffin's days, the ones that happened in the main corridors of the Beaumont, the ones that smelled of authority and warmth in equal measure. On those days, Violet wore her dusty rose-button front blouse and moved through the theater as Griffin's fiancée, as the director's understudy, as the woman who had believed the right things for the right reasons. Griffin Marsh ran the Beaumont with total command and genuine love for the work. He was not a cruel man. He was a certain one, and his certainty had a way of filling every room he entered so completely that there was not always space left over for other people's uncertainties to breathe. He had told her, from the beginning, that he cast her as understudy to protect her. He had covered her hand, the hand with the ring, and said it with such complete conviction that she had believed him, the way you believe the people who love you. After a Tuesday run-through, he found her outside the studio door. "How's the understudy work going?" he asked warmly, kissing her temple. "Your instincts in the last note session were really sharp." "It's going well," she said. "We found something good today." She didn't say who he was. He didn't ask. He took her hand, the hand with the ring, and walked her down the corridor, and she let him, and the studio door grew smaller behind them. Violet was in the small rehearsal studio when Raphael arrived and said simply, "I heard about the showcase. Are you ready?" "I've been ready," she said. And then because it was him, "I'm terrified." "And then you won't be," he said. "Right?" They ran the balcony scene one final time that afternoon, and something happened that Violet had no adequate word for. The scene called for him to take her hand. He took her hand. They held it for a beat longer than the script required. Neither of them mentioned it. They ran it again. It was exactly the same. The balcony scene was the heart of the play. Two people at the edge of deciding, with nothing between them and the truth but the distance they'd agreed to keep. They had run it 17 times across 4 weeks. This time felt different from the first line. "I would have crossed every wrong door to find this one," Raphael said, and he was in the scene and he wasn't, simultaneously, the way he always was now. "Then you should have knocked louder," she said. "I've been knocking since the first time I saw you standing in the dark, not knowing you were the light." She barely whispered it. "What do we do with that?" "We stop pretending we don't know." The studio had gone absolutely still. The night of the industry showcase arrived on a Friday, and it arrived with chaos. Lily, the female lead, called in with a fever at 4 in the afternoon. By 5, Daniel, the male lead, had developed the same symptoms, and the company manager was on the phone with Griffin, who was standing in the center of the Beaumont's main stage with his reading glasses pushed up on his forehead, and an expression Violet had never seen on him before. Griffin found Violet in the dressing room at 5:30. He was composed. Griffin was always composed, but his voice had a tightness in it that told her everything. "You're going on tonight," he said. "Both of you. Raphael knows." Violet looked at herself in the mirror, the crooked tortoiseshell clip, the ring catching the light. "Griffin," she said. "You're ready," he said, and she could tell he believed it, which was almost worse. "You've always been ready. I'll be in the booth. Just do what you've been doing in that studio." He kissed her on the forehead and left. She found Raphael in the wings at 6:15, notebook in hand, running lines silently. He looked up when she approached. He read her face the way he read scenes, completely, without performance. "How are you doing?" he asked. "I'm terrified," she said. "And then I won't be, right?" He smiled, the one she'd only seen a few times, the one that started in his eyes before it reached his mouth. "Right," he said. They stood in the wings together as the house filled. Producers, agents, critics. The particular electricity of an audience that had come expecting to evaluate. Violet could feel it through the curtain. She reached up and straightened the tortoiseshell clip. "Leave it crooked," Raphael said quietly. "It's better crooked." She looked at him. He was looking at the curtain. "Okay," she said. They stepped out together when the lights came up, and something happened that Violet had no adequate word for. The stage met her, like it recognized her. Every scene they had rehearsed in the small studio, every line she had said to no one, and then to him, and then to something real, assembled itself into a single continuous thing. She wasn't performing wanting him. She was playing the truth, and the truth was complicated and bright and standing 3 feet away from her. The balcony scene came in Act 2. The stage went quiet in the particular way that told you an audience had stopped thinking and started feeling. Raphael crossed to her, and she looked at him the way she'd looked at him that second Thursday when the scene had first opened between them. And he said his line, "I would have crossed every wrong door to find this one." And she believed it, and the audience believed it. And somewhere in the lighting booth, Griffin Marsh watched his fiancée finally become the woman in the white dress, and understood, with great sadness and complete clarity, what that meant. The final scene was a quiet one. 2 people on a bare stage, no props, just the decision to stay. Raphael took her hand. It was in the script, and she let him, and neither of them moved for a beat longer than rehearsed. The lights faded slowly. The house came up to a standing ovation. Backstage, the company surrounded them. Congratulations. Noise. The giddy relief of a production saved. Violet stood in the middle of it and felt, for the first time in years, entirely present. Raphael caught her eye from across the room. He nodded once. Small, just for her. Griffin found her 20 minutes later when the crowd had thinned. He stood before her with his reading glasses pushed up on his forehead and an expression she recognized now, the one that was sad and honest at the same time. "You were extraordinary," he said. "Griffin," she started. "I know," he said gently. He looked at the ring on her hand. She looked at it too. "I think I've known for a little while." She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. He took her hand, held it for a moment. Not the hand with the ring, the other one. And then he let go and walked slowly back towards the booth. Violet stood alone in the wings for a moment. Then she walked towards the stage door, where Raphael was leaning against the wall in the cold air of a New Orleans evening, notebook tucked under his arm, looking up at a sky the color of deep violet. "Hey," she said. "Hey," he said. The door swung shut behind her. The city was loud and warm and indifferent. She stood beside him and looked up at the same sky. "So what happens now?" she asked. He considered this with the same unhurried attention he gave everything. "I think," he said, "you stop rehearsing and start deciding." She laughed. A real one, the kind that surprised her. She reached up and touched the tortoiseshell clip, still crooked. "Okay," she said, "I can do that." He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. They stood together in the warm dark, 2 understudies who had finally stepped into the light and let the next scene begin.